Huh? You are ready? Did you put the slide back? Slide is still there? Is it live? Tell me when it's live. I can't hear you. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Ajnana Dimirandhasya Jnana Janashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Om Amriteshwariyai Namaha Om Amriteshwariyai Namaha Om Amriteshwariyai Namaha. Om Amriteshwariyai Namaha. We'll begin with a short meditation. And sorry for the late start due to some technical problems. So kindly sit straight, make sure your vertebral column, your spinal column is erect. And slowly close your eyes. Watch your breath. Feel relaxed. And when you breathe in and out, become aware of each and every breath. And as you become more and more aware, relaxation occurs naturally. Feel fully relaxed now, both physically, emotionally, and mentally. Now we'll chant Om 3 times, and as we chant Om, imagine the sound of Om to arise from your navel area and visualize the sound rising upwards along your spine. And feel the vibrations of Om in each and every cell of your body. Now kindly take a deep breath. Feel this silence and lesser thoughts rushing or disturbing your mind. Once again, become aware of your breathing. Feel each and every inhalation and exhalation completely with full awareness. And now, as you breathe in, chant the mantra, the syllable Ma, silently along with your in-breath. And as you breathe out, chant Om in synchronization with your breath. Follow the rhythm of your breath. This will give you more awareness. Ma is a representation of divine love, and Om, divine light. Just feel the vibrations of love and light, also along with your breathing. You need not focus on that. Continue like this for some time. Ma Om Ma, and hold your breath just for a few seconds. Don't hold it too long. And breathe out, chanting Om Ma. Hold your breath. Om. Continue like this for some time. Slowly and slowly, the reverberations of Ma and Om become more and more subtle. And you can just feel the subtler vibrations of Ma and Om rather than the physical one. As you feel these vibrations, your mind goes deeper and deeper into silence. Imagine your heart being filled with that love and light. And the heart expands just like the limitless sky or the universe. And feel the love and the light. Imagine this love and light going out from your heart to all the beings, just like the rays of the sun. And as the light falls on each and every one of them, imagine they also become more loving, more peaceful, more silent, and more compassionate. And while doing so, we'll chant the prayer, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, 9 times. And as you chant the mantra, feel that vibration of peace and love and light going out from your heart. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. 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 Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. There were some comments that there was no sound. It's okay, right? You are checking it, right? Om Dhyayamo Dhavlavagundhanavatim Tejomayim Nashtikim Snigdha Pangavilokinim Bhagavatim Mandasmida Shri Mukhim Valsalyamritavarshiniം sumadhuram sankirtanalapinim Shamangim madhusiktasuttim amritanandatmikam ishwarim. Om Narayanam Patmabhuvam Vasishtam Shaktim cha Tatputram Parasharam cha Vyasam Shugam Gaudapadam Mahandam Govinda Yogindram Athasya Shishyam Sri Shankaracharyam Athasya Patmapadam cha Hastamalakam cha Shishyam tam Todakam Vartikakāryamanyan Asmadgurum Santadamanadosmi. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Amriteshwari Namaha. In the last session, we were looking at how the demons got the power over the gods. And Indra, being their head, the king of the Devas, had gone to Brahma, the creator. And Brahma, understanding their predicament, told them to go to Vishwarupa, who was the son of Twashta, a great sage, and Vishwarupa himself was also another great sage, but he also belonged to he was born in the demon clan. So, of course, there was a mistrust with Indra, with Vishwarupa, and but Vishwarupa, being a great sage as he is, welcomed them, and then said that they will be given the right knowledge. So Vishwarupa did the honor of welcoming them, and of course he was asking these questions as to Vishwarupa, who is just like a beggar, a mendicant, who has nothing and who is just living on the whatever grains that fall in the field after the harvest. So such was his austerity. So he was saying that the Lord of the King of the gods, who has everything in the three worlds, not only just one world but three worlds, is coming to him and requesting him for saving him from the demons. So finally what happened was Vishwarupa entertaining them and welcoming them to his ashram, he said that he will give the Narayana Kavacha. Kavacha means the shield of Narayana, which he derived through the meditation on Lord Vishnu. So Vishwarupa imparted this to Indra, this Narayana Kavacha. And this would protect Indra and easily overcome the armies of the Asura. So it was given, and I'm skipping, this is Skanda 4, chapter 8, so I'm skipping all of those. And I'm just skipping all the details of that. And where they're talking about the Narayana Kavacha and about the mantras and all these things, which we don't have to think about all these things, and it's not relevant. And they're also praising Lord Vishnu. And so I'm going to Skanda 6, chapter 9, and going to the story of this great demon called Vritra. So, Vritra, as we can see, was a great demon, but yet there are so many lessons to be learned from him. And that's why they are introducing Vritra here. So, Sri Shuka continues to King Parikshit, and he says, we have heard that this Vishwarupa had 3 heads, through each of which he consumed each of the 3 soma. Soma is the nectar which the gods enjoy, liquor and food. Liquor is for the demons. So he made these offerings, 3 kinds of offerings. One for gods, that is the soma, the liquor for the demons, and the food for the human beings. So, O king, he said, Vishwarupa, whose father was a deva, always made offerings to devas with humility and loud utterances of the mantra. But drawn by the affection for his mothers, who came from the ranks of asuras, he secretly gave a part of the offerings to the asuras too, whenever he sacrificed to the devas. So, as we see, Vishwarupa made these offerings. But his father used to always give the offerings only to the gods, the devas, being a god himself, from the godly clan, I would say, not god, but semi-god, or you can say came from the godly clan, devas. And so, but whereas Vishwarupa was drawn to by his affection for his mother, so he was attached to his mother, who was a asura. Asura means a demon. So he secretly gave a part of the offerings to the asuras also. As I was saying, one portion to the gods, one portion to the human beings, and then whenever he did sacrifice, he used to give it to the demons also, so that they would get the strength from these sacrifices. And Indra was aghast at this unrighteous deception practiced on the celestials, and in great anger cut off Vishwarupa's head. So Indra was so angry that Vishwarupa was giving this very secretly to the demons, because that gave them power. That was the reason. So the head that the soma became Kapinjala, you can say a black cock or a rooster. That which took the liquor became Kalivinga, that is a sparrow, and that which consumed food became Titri, that is the partridge. So the 3 heads, so one of them became a rooster, the other became a sparrow, and then the third one became a partridge. So by this act, Indra, though a powerful personage, had to incur the sin of Brahmahatya, the killing of a holy man. So at the end of a year, in order to rid himself of it, he transferred and partitioned the sin among 4, namely the earth, water, trees, and women. So, because of the killing of Vishwarupa, so Indra incurred this great sin of killing a holy person, which is known as Brahma Hatya. Brahma means the Brahman, and Hatya means killing of the Brahman itself. So we will not go into the details, but because it seems totally illogical. All these things are totally illogical, but I can just quickly go through it, but don't give too much of importance, because this does not make sense. As Amma says, some of the things in the Srimad Bhagavatam has been written by so many other people, so that it does not make sense. So now Twashta, who is the father of the slaughtered Vishwarupa, was grief-stricken by the death of his son, and began a sacrificial rite in order to produce a person powerful enough to kill Indra. O enemy of Indra, grow into mighty proportions and slay the enemy soon. So prayed Twashta. So Twashta, even though he belonged to the clan of gods, because his son was slaughtered by Indra, he was so angered that he wanted to kill Indra. So he created this demon. And thereupon, from the sacrificial fire known as Dakshinagni, a terrific being came out, like the all-consuming form of death appearing at the time of the total destruction of the Pralaya. A being emerged from this Dakshinagni. Every day, the all-round growth of his body was equal to the dimension of a bow. His complexion was black, that of a mountain, burnt by forest fire, mingled with the glow of a cloud at sunset. The hair on his head and his face looked like heated copper, while his fierce eyes resembled the midday sun. He was wildly dancing to the accompaniment of tumultuous roars and earth-shaking treads, holding an uplifted trident with 3 dazzling points, as if he were lifting up heaven, earth, and impaled on it. Everyone fled away as he stood yawning, exposing the extensive cavern of his mouth, with a terrible and protruding tongue, as if he were going to lick the stars and drink up the sky and swallow the 3 worlds. So this terrific being came out. So his name was Vritra. And so it came from the sacrificial fire known as Dakshina Agni. So there's 2 words, Dakshina Agni. Dakshina means south, and Agni is fire. And why is south important? Because the south is the direction for Lord Yama, the Lord of Death. So Dakshinagni means one who has been born to kill others. So we see the description of Vritra. And that extremely cruel and sinful being came to be known as Vritra, because he, the offspring of Twashta's mantra, was the very embodiment of tamas, covering the world with darkness emanating from him. On seeing him, the devas with all their following rushed at him and struck him with their divine weapons, but Vritra swallowed up all those weapons. The devas were stunned at this, found simultaneously that they had lost their puissance. Overcome with grief, they became introspective and prayed to the Supreme Being. So the devas, when they knew that Vritra had come, they went to attack him. But what happened was, every time they attacked him, all their weapons were just being swallowed by this demon Vritra. So they had to accept the defeat and run away. So they were trying to find out a method by which they can kill this demon. So the devas, what they did was, they went and praised Lord Mahavishnu. So I'm just skipping all those praises, and where they talk about Mahavishnu and the description of Mahavishnu and the hymn of the Devas. And finally, what happened was Mahavishnu appeared in front of them because of their praise. So again, I just wanted to say that it's not God who wants the praise here, but when we praise God, when we praise our Guru, what we are doing is we are reflecting upon those qualities of the Guru or God. And through those remembrance of these qualities, we are invoking that qualities within us. So what we have to do is remember that every time we praise God, God does not need our praises. And nothing is going to affect God or the Guru because you are praising them or the Guru. So what is the need of the praise? The need of the praise is for us to remember the Guru. And so what happened was Sri Hari, that is Lord Vishnu, was propitiated by the fervent hymn addressed to him by the Devas, and he said to them, highly pleasing. So this is the 46th verse and then the 47th. O leading celestials, I am pleased with you for having expressed the truth about my nature through your hymn. From your hymn, people will get an idea of my attributes and prowess, and their mind will be filled with the devotion for me. So that is the use of the hymn. So he's exactly pointing the reason for praising God. What will happen? They will get an idea. Small portion of the attributes and the prowess of the Guru on the God, so that their mind will be filled with devotion. O great celestials, what is there difficult to attain if I am propitious? But a wholehearted devotee, a knower of the truth, hankers for nothing else but me. So he's again reminding them. If you're a real devotee, you don't ask for anything except the Lord Himself. So you don't ask for toys, you don't ask for chocolates. So all you want is, as Amma reminds us, the gold coins. So when we get the gold coins, we don't need chocolates because we don't ask for chocolates, because we know that the gold coins can buy immensible number of chocolates. So one who is involved with the sense objects is pitiable because he does not understand his own real good. Those who long for petty objects or those who grant it are both to be pitied. One who knows what constitutes the supreme good of man never induces the ignorant man to the path of desire-prompted karmas. A good physician will never allow his patient to take unwholesome food, even if the patient likes to do so. So here, the Lord is saying, one who is involved with the sense objects is pitiable. Why? Because they want only these petty objects. But he says one who knows the nature of the Supreme Lord never induces the ignorant man to the path of desire-prompted karmas. Why? Because first of all, whatever result you get from these karmas is very limited. And secondly, these karmas in turn produce more and more desire-prompted karmas. So, therefore, it will push you back into the wheel of birth and death. So he says, a person who is really knowledgeable, what will they do? They will only ask you to do one thing, which is to have devotion to the Lord. And if you get the Lord himself or the Guru himself or herself, you get everything. As Amma says the example, if you catch the queen bee, all the other bees will follow. He's also saying a good physician will never allow his patient to take unwholesome food, even if the patient likes to do so. So similarly, a person that is a jnani, a person who understands the spiritual precepts will never ask you to ask for small petty things like objects. So he says, Indra, may good befall you. Approach the great Rishi, Dadichi, and beg of him to give you his body, which has been fortified by meditation, vows, and austere practices. So now Lord Mahavishnu is telling Indra to go and approach the great Rishi, Dadichi. So, and beg to him to give his body. So we'll see why. We will see that later. So he says that great sage Dadichi is a great knower of Brahman, the partless infinite. He taught the meditation on Brahman to the Ashwasiras, to Ashwini Devas, which gained for them the status of immortality. So, the great sage, Dadichi, is not an ordinary person. He is a knower of Brahman, he is a Brahmajnani. And not only that, he taught the meditation of the Brahman to the Ashwasiras. And that was passed on to the Ashwini Devas, who are the medicine, the gods of medicine in the godly clan. So he was such a great rishi or a sage. And the Maharshi Dadichi, who is an expert in Atharvana Veda, gave instruction on this unbreakable psychic armor known as Narayana Kavacha, which is ensouled by me to Tvashta, who in turn gave it to his son Vishwarupa, from whom you have acquired it. So he's saying, where did Vishwarupa get the Narayana Astra? It is from Maharshi Dadichi. Why? Because he gave the instruction to Tvashta, which is Vishwarupa's father. And it was Vishwarupa's father who gave this instruction to Vishwarupa, that is Tvashta, was the one who gave this instruction of Narayana Kavacha to Vishwarupa, and which has been learned by Indra. And sage Dadichi is a knower of the rules of dharma. So if you make a request to him through the Ashwini Devas, his disciples, he will certainly give you his limbs, out of which Vishwakarma can now make a unique divine weapon. With that weapon of thunderbolt, augmented by my power, you will be able to cut off the head of Vritra. And when Vritra is dead, you will recover your prowess, missiles, weapons, wealth, and everything. So now Lord Vishnu is saying, so what will happen now? So if you go and ask Dadichi, he will give you his whole body. And through his disciples, which is the Ashwini Devas, they will make a weapon out of his limbs, out of his bones and limbs. So with that weapon, you can cut off the head of Vritra. So when the Devas approached the great Dadichi, an expert in the Atharvana Veda, this is the Atharva Veda, there is a fourth Veda, Sama, Rig, Yathur, and Atharva Veda. So and requested him as instructed. He looked pleased and replied jestingly as follows: O celestials, Are you not aware of the intensely paralyzing fear that human beings have for death? So, he was just mocking at them. Why? Because even devas are prone to death. After some time they die. So who is beyond death? So one who knows what is death and one who has gone through the experience of death is beyond death. So a great sage, a great Brahmajnani, a knower of Brahman who knows about death, who has the experience of death, will certainly be transcendental to the phenomenon of death. So he is saying, he was just making fun of them, saying that, aren't you afraid of death? And he says, Jivas in whom love of life is instinctive, cling to the dear body with passionate attachment. So at the time of death, what happens? We don't want to die. Nobody in this world want to die. I mean, most of the people, you can say. Why? Because they want to cling on to the life. And because they are passionate about life. So Devas replied, O great one, for personages like you, greatly reputed for holiness, for the nobility of your actions and for your universal love, what is there too difficult to give away as gift? So now they are praising him because they want his limbs and his bones. So they are saying, so for you it's not so difficult. For a human being it might be difficult. And they say men who are interested only in their well-being never understood the sufferings of others. If they did, they would never beg in this way as we are doing. And one who has the resources and the inclination to make a gift would never refuse to oblige. So they are saying, if one person understands the suffering of others, then they would gladly give whatever is needed to relieve or to take away the suffering of that person. So the Rishi replies, I refused your request at first in order to hear from you what is dharma, the right course of action. So I shall now give up for your sake this body which one has to give up one day or the other. O Devas, those who do not strive for fame and attainment of merit through the sacrifice of this impermanent body out of one's love for living beings are liable to be looked upon with pity even by inanimate objects. The eternal path of virtue followed by men, famous for their holiness, consists in their feeling sorrow for the sorrow of others and joy for their joys. It is indeed a tragedy, it is indeed a pity that man fails to do good to his fellow beings with his body, which is ever threatened by death, and is bound to be food for dogs, and with his wealth, children, and other resources which are transient and intrinsically worthless. So he's giving them a beautiful lesson. See, he's saying, those who do not strive for fame and attainment of merit through their love for the living beings are liable to be looked upon with pity even by inanimate objects. So what happens is, if you do not live for the others, and if you do not do sacrifice for others, he's saying that even inanimate objects, just like a mic or this table, will be making fun of you. Not that it is happening, but he's just going to the extent to which he's saying, comparing, even inanimate objects have the consciousness and they will be making fun of you. The eternal path of virtue followed by men, famous for their holiness, consists in the feeling of sorrow for others and joy for their joys. So what do the holy men do? The holy men feel sorrow for others when they are having sorrows in their life, and then they feel the joy when the people who are undergoing joy comes to them. So we can see this in Amma. When in this example, we can see this example very beautifully when Amma gives darshan. You can see that one person comes and they are pouring out their heart because they have so much problems in their life and their life is in misery, and they are crying, and sometimes or many a times I would say that Amma identifies with them, and she also starts crying. Not that she is affected by it, but she is just reflecting their emotions, and she starts crying and consoles them, and then they go. The next moment a child comes, and the child is so joyful and playful. So Amma becomes like a child, and she becomes so happy. Why? Because she is not affected by either sorrow or by happiness. So he's saying that if a person fails to do good to his fellow beings with his body, and what is the nature of this body? It is always threatened by death. Every moment death is following you. As Amma says, when we are born, there is only one guarantee, that we will die someday. And so he's saying this body, after it dies, it's going to be bound for food to the dogs. And with his wealth, children and other resources which are transient and intrinsically worthless. So he's saying that this body, which we think that we are going to give wealth and to our children and giving other resources, these are completely worthless. Why? It doesn't mean that you should not do it as a family person. You have your duty, you have your dharma to give and to provide for your children and to your wife or the people whom you are supporting or who are depending on you. Like your old parents or old in-laws. So they all depend on you. So you have the dharma, the duty to look after them. It doesn't mean that you should not. But if you leave alone for wealth, or you're living alone just for the attachment to these things, what will happen when death comes? You'll have to leave alone everything and just go away. And death is not going to give you time, saying that, you cannot pray to death saying that, please give me at least 2 more years so that I can support my children more, or I can see my grandchildren grow up. So, or I can say just I can earn another 5,000 or 5 million K of money. So what happens is death will not give you any time. It will just say, come with me. So at that time, whatever you have made, whatever you have gained is completely worthless. You just have to drop everything and go away. So that's what he is saying here. Dadichi, the great sage Dadichi, is saying this. So Sri Shuka said, resolving this, Dadichi united his spirit with the Supreme Lord, the Parabrahman, and thereby left his body dead. So in one moment, Dadichi was so happy. He said, I'm happy to give it to you. So he just died. How can he die? So they have the power. The great beings, great rishis have the power to just take off from their body anytime. Because they know that they are not the body, they are not the mind. So they can just detach from themselves, from their body. Just like, suppose, we are having a surgery. When we have the surgery, what does the doctors do? They give you anesthesia. Why? Because if you are identified with the body, the pain will be there. And so, during the surgery, you will certainly feel the pain. So, by giving the anesthesia, what happens to you? Really, what happens is, it's not the anesthesia which is taking the pain. It is your ability to detach from the body is what is giving the painlessness. The pain for the body will still be there, regardless of anesthesia or not. But you are just going through that experience of going away from the body, so that you are not identified with the body and the pain of the body. So we experience this every day. When do we experience this? We in deep sleep state. We are unaware of everything. We are ignorant. That is the problem with the deep sleep state, because we are not aware. Whereas the great Mahatmas, they can easily detach from their bodies. For Amma's case, we have seen in her biography that when her father, Sugunachan, came and besieged her, thinking that the Devi had taken over her body, for he did not know the spiritual knowledge or had the understanding that Amma and Devi, the Divine Mother, are one and the same. So he thought that Amma's body was being possessed by the Divine Mother Devi. So he went and besieged Amma while she was sitting in Devi Bhava Darshan, thinking it was Devi, that leave the body of my daughter. So what happened? So Amma said, if I leave the body of your daughter, it will just be a corpse. So Sugunachan said, I don't care. Just leave my daughter. So Amma said, here, take it. And she just fell down. So within just 1 second, she left her body. And the family and the people around could not even sense breathing. And they really understood that Amma had left her body. And then they started crying. As you know, after 8 hours, Amma came back to her body. And there was similar other occasions when Amma had left her body. So in one sense, it is very easy for them to just leave their body like that. There's a beautiful story to illustrate this. Once a Zen master knew that his time of death was coming. So he sent out his disciples to different parts of the world and said, find out in how many ways people have died. So they all came and reported to him after a few days, saying that one person died, he was sleeping, one person died when he was sitting and having a cup of tea. Another person died when he was eating, and another person was lying on his couch with his head on his hand, and he died, passed away. So finally he asked, did you ever hear anybody leaving their body when they were standing on their head? So they said, no, we never heard. So he said, watch me. So he stood on his head and he left his body. He died. So his sister, who was another great master, heard about his death and came to visit him, the corpse, knowing that he had passed away. So when she came and looked at the body, it was, standing on its head, and the corpse was upside down. So she looked at the corpse and started speaking to the corpse and said, hey, just like she was talking to her brother, said, what a stupid thing you're doing. Are you trying to make a fool of yourself? Just lie down properly and die. So the corpse came back to life. And so the brother, actually properly lied down. And then he again died. So for these people, Mahatmas, death is nothing to them. It's just one scene in the play for the great actor. Because they know that the real self does not die even if the body goes away. And they know that they are beyond death. They know that they are deathless. And the Supreme, because they have identified with the Supreme Soul, the Atman, they know they are deathless. So what is the one that dies? It's only the body. And they realize that, and because of this realization, they can die anytime. Or they can come back to their body anytime. Or they can take another body. We have seen this many times in the life of other Mahatmas. I'm just conclude with one more story about Sri Shankaracharya. When Sri Shankaracharya was asked a question, he wanted to, since he was a brahmachari, a nitya brahmachari, he is always a celibate. In order to ascend the Jnana Peedam, that is the greatest, the height of knowledge, he was having arguments with other scholars when one of the wife of the scholars came and asked him questions about family life, for which he had no answers and he had no experience. So he had to go through those experiences. So what he did was, he said, I'll come back and give you the answers in a few days. So he went to his disciples and said that I'm going to move away from this body for some time, so watch over my body. So he went to a cave and just took off from his body. And then at the same moment, earlier, a few moments ago, there was a king who had passed away. So he entered into the body of that king, which is known as Parakaya Pravesham. That is, Parakaya means the body of another. Pravesham means entering the body of another person. And he entered the body of the king and lived in that body and then came back to his body after some time. So it's as easy for them. It's so simple. There's nothing complicated about death. So that's what happens when one transcends death. Even that act of dying, they make it as an offering for other people. So for the welfare. So here you see, when Dadichi passed away from his body, he's giving his body for the welfare of other people. So that's what the great beings do. Always thinking about others' welfare. So let's conclude by this, by thinking about what we can do for others rather than what we can get for ourselves. Om Amriteshwariye Namah.
Is it coming?
Varun, you're ready, right?
अमृतेश्वरि वन्दनं जगदीश्वरि वन्दनं पतितावनि वन्दनं परमेश्वरि वन्दनम्
अमृतेश्वरि वन्दनं जगदीश्वरि वन्दनं पतितावनि वन्दनं परमेश्वरि वन्दनम्
अमृतेश्वरि वन्दनं जगदीश्वरि वन्दनं पतितावनि वन्दनं परमेश्वरि वन्दनम्
अमृतेश्वरि वन्दनं जगदीश्वरि वन्दनं पतितावनि वन्दनं परमेश्वरि वन्दनं
चतुरानननन्दिनी शरणागतबालिनी भवभीति विभञ्जिनी मुनिमानसरञ्जिनी
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 अम्मा 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 अम्मा
अम्मा
करुणारससागरे कविद्मानदायिके निगमागमवन्निदे निखिलामय पूजिदे
करुणारससागरे कवितामृतदायिके निगमागमवर्णिते निखिलामय पूजिते
करुणारससागरे कवितामृतदायिके निगमागमवन्निदे निखिलामय पूजिते
करुणारससागरे कवितामृतदायिके निगमागमवर्णिते निखिलामय पूजिते
अम्मा 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 अम्मा
अम्मा
सकलामयहारिणि शरणागतबालिनि प्रतिजन्मविमोचिनि श्रुतिमन्त्रविहारिणि
सकलामयहारिणि शरणागतपालिनि जन्मविमोचिनि श्रुतिमन्त्रविहारिणि
सकलामयहारिणि शरणागतबालिनि प्रतिजन्मविमोचिनि श्रुतिमन्त्रविहारिणि
सकलामयहारिणि शरणागतपालिनि जन्मविमोचिनि श्रुतिमन्त्रविहारिणि
अम्मा 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 अम्मा
अम्मा
नलिनीदललोचने नयनामृतविग्रहे मृदुमोहनसुस्मिते जयदेवि नमोऽस्तुते
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 अम्मा 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 अमृतेश्वरि वन्दनं जगदीश्वरि वन्दनं पतितावनि वन्दनं परमेश्वरि वन्दनम्
अमृतेश्वरि वन्दनं जगदीश्वरि वन्दनं पतितावनि वन्दनं परमेश्वरि वन्दनम्
अमृतेश्वरि वन्दनं जगदीश्वरि वन्दनं पतितावनि वन्दनं परमेश्वरि वन्दनम्
अमृतेश्वरि वन्दनं जगदीश्वरि वन्दनं पतितावनि वन्दनं परमेश्वरि वन्दनं
पतितावनि वन्दनं परमेश्वरि वन्दनं
पतितावनि वन्दनं परमेश्वरि वन्दनं
पतितावनि वन्दनं परमेश्वरि वन्दनं
पतितावनि वन्दनं परमेश्वरि वन्दनम्
साङ्गुसधर पाप विनाशन पाहि दयामय गणनाथा
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 श्रीकर जय प्रणवाम्बुज निलया श्री शिवतनया सुरसेव्या
श्रीकर जय प्रणवाम्बुज निलया श्री शिवतनया सुरसेव्या
श्री शिवतनया सुरसेव्या
श्री शिवतनया सुरसेव्या
पाशाङ्कुशधर
पाप विनाशन पाहि दयामय गणनाथा श्रीकर जय प्रणवाम्बुज निलया श्री शिवतनया सुरसेव्या
पीताम्बरधर भीति विभञ्जन चारुकलेवर विधिवन्द्या
पीताम्बरधर भीति विभञ्जनं चारुकलेवर विधिवन्द्या
हेरम्बा सुख शान्ति विदायक विरजलोचन शिव सदना
हेरम्बा सुख शान्ति विदायक विरजलोचन शिव सदना
पाशाङ्कुशधर पाप विनाशन
पाहि दयामय गणनाथा श्रीकर जय प्रणवाम्बुज निलया श्री शिवतनया सुरसेव्या
त्राहि परात्पर भूरि कृपाकर मादङ्गानत हृदयेशा
त्राहि परात्पर भूरि कृपाकर मातङ्गानत हृदयेशा
त्राहि परात्पर भूरि कृपाकर मादङ्गानद हृदयेशा
त्राहि परात्पर भूरि कृपाकर मातङ्गानत हृदयेशा
रक्ष गणेश्वर विघ्न विनाशक सद्गतिदायक गणनाथा
रक्ष गणेश्वर विघ्न विनाशक सद्गतिदायक गणनाथा
पाशाङ्कुशधर पाप विनाशन पाहि दयामय गणनाथा
पाशाङ्कुशधर पाप विनाशन पाहि दयामय गणनाथा
श्रीकर जय प्रणवाम्बुज निलया श्री शिवतनया सुरसेव्या
श्रीकर जय प्रणवाम्बुज निलया श्री शिवतनया सुरसेव्या
पाशाङ्कुशधर पाप विनाशन
पाहि दयामय गणनाथा श्रीकर जय प्रणवाम्बुज निलया
शिवतनया सुरसेव्या
श्री शिवतनया सुरसेव्या
श्री शिवतनया सुरसेव्या
श्री शिवतनया सुरसेव्या
मधुराधिपते द्वारकाधिपते वैकुण्ठपते श्रीराधापते मधुराधिपते द्वारकाधिपते वैकुण्ठपते श्रीराधापते
मधुराधिपते द्वारकाधिपते वैकुण्ठपते श्रीराधापते
मधुराधिपते द्वारकाधिपते वैकुण्ठपते श्रीराधापते
मधुराधिपते द्वारकाधिपते वैकुण्ठपते श्रीराधापते
नन्दनन्दन कृष्ण गोपाला मेरा थे प्रभु गिरिधर वाला
नन्दनन्दना कृष्ण गोपाला मीरा के प्रभु गिरिधर वाला
नन्दनन्दन कृष्ण गोपाला मेरा थे प्रभु गिरिधर वाला
नन्दनन्दना कृष्ण गोपाला मीरा के प्रभु गिरिधर वाला
मधुराधिपते द्वारकाधिपते वैकुण्ठपते श्रीराधापते
मधुराधिपते द्वारकाधिपते वैकुण्ठपते कुञ्जपते श्रीराधापते
देवगी नंदन हे घनश्यामा गोपी मनोहर मंगलधामा
देवकी नंदन हे घनश्यामा गोपी मनोहर मंगलधामा
कालिय मर्दन हे नंदलाला
कालियमर्दन हे नन्दलाला
कालिय मर्दन हे नंदलाला
कालियमर्दन हे नन्दलाला
नाचो नाचो रे भैया बांसुरी वाला मधुराधिपते
राधाधिपते वैकुण्ठपते श्रीराधापते
सूरदास के प्रभु गिरिधारी राधा कृष्णा कुंज विहारी
सूरदास के प्रभु गिरिधारी राधा कृष्ण कुंज विहारी
वसुदेव नंदन असुर निखंडन
वसुदेव नंदन असुर निखंडन
वसुदेव नंदन असुर निखंडन
वसुदेव नंदन असुर निखंडन
भव भय भंजन जगद्वंदना मधुराधिपते
द्वारकाधिपते वैकुण्ठपते श्रीराधापते
मीरा के प्रभु गिरिधर नागर गोपी कृष्ण कन्हैया
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 अभी देना तुम तेरा दर्शन
अभी देना तुम तेरा दर्शन
मेरा कृष्ण कन्हैया मधुराधिपते द्वारकाधिपते वैकुण्ठपते श्रीराधापते
मथुराधिपते द्वारकाधिपते वैकुण्ठपते श्रीराधापते
नन्दनन्दन कृष्ण गोपाला मीरा के प्रभु गिरिधर बाला
नन्दनन्दना कृष्ण गोपाल
प्रभु गिरधर वाला।
मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर वाला।
मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर वाला।
मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर वाला। ले लो जननी ले लो शरण में मां जननी हे जगदीश्वरी मां। ले लो शरण में मां जननी हे जगदीश्वरी शरण में मां जननी हे जगदीश्वरी मां। ले लो शरण में मां जननी हे जगदीश्वरी मां। तुम हो सब कुछ माँ मेरे, माता पिता गुरु ईश्वर भी तो सब कुछ माँ मेरी, माता पिता गुरु ईश्वर भी तुम हो सब कुछ माँ मेरी, माता पिता गुरु ईश्वर भी तुम हो सब कुछ माँ मेरी, माता पिता गुरु ईश्वर भी। ओ ले लो शरण में मां जननी जगदीश्वरी दूर करो माँ जग की माया, अब तो मुझको दे दो सहारा। दूर करो माँ जग की माया, अब तो मुझको दे दो सहारा। दूर करो माँ जग की माया, अब तो मुझको दे दो सहारा। दूर करो माँ जग की माया, अब तो मुझको दे दो सहारा। तब चरणों में शरणागत को, चरणों में शरणागत हो, तब चरणों में शरणागत को, चरणों में शरणागत को, पूरी जगह को देना मैया। तब चरणों में शरणागत को थोड़ी जगह तो देना मैया। जय जगदम्बे मंगलदायी अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी माँ। जय जगदम्बे मंगलदायिनी अमृतपुरेश्वरी देवी माँ। जगदम्बे मंगलदायिनी अमृतपुरेश्वरी देवी माँ। जय जगदम्बे मंगलदायिनी अमृतपुरेश्वरी देवी माँ। रोता शिशु जब माँ को पुकारे, छोड़ के सब कुछ माँ दौड़ाए। रोता शिशु जब माँ को पुकारे, छोड़ के सब कुछ माँ दौड़ाए। रोता शिशु जब माँ को पुकारे, छोड़ के सब कुछ माँ दौड़ाए। रोता शिशु जब माँ को पुकारे, छोड़ के सब कुछ माँ दौड़ाए। सारे जग के तुम हो माता, सारे जग के तुम हो माता। सारे जग के तुम हो माता, सारे जग के तुम हो माता। क्यों है तेरी दर्शन दे दो, सारे जग के तुम हो माता। क्यों है तेरी दर्शन दे दो। जय जगदम्बे मंगलदायिनी अमृतपुरेश्वरी देवी माँ। जय जगदम्बे मंगलदायिनी अमृतपुरेश्वरी देवी माँ। अमृतपुरेश्वरी देवी माँ। अमृतपुरेश्वरी देवी माँ। अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी माँ। अमृतपुरेश्वरी देवी माँ। जय जगदम्बे मंगलदायिनी अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी माँ।
जय जगदम्बे मंगलदायिनी अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी माँ।
जय जगदम्बे मंगलदायिनी अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी।
जय जगदम्बे मंगलदायिनी अमृतपुरेश्वरी
मेरी माँ। जय जगदम्बे मंगलदायिनी अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी माँ।
जय जगदम्बे मंगलदायिनी अमृतपुरेश्वरी
अमृतपुरेश्वरी देवी माँ। जय जगदम्बे मंगलदायिनी अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी माँ। जय जगदम्बे मंगलदायिनी अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी माँ। अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी माँ।
अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी माँ।
अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी माँ।
अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी माँ।
अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी माँ।
अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी माँ।
अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी माँ।
अमृतपुरेश्वरी मेरी माँ।
तेषु चरिते अमृतानन्दमयी निखिलभयहर जननी वन्दे अमृतानन्दमयी अमृतानन्दमयी प्रेमरसावृत वशिनी माता अमृतानन्दमयी प्रेम भक्ति संदायिनी माता अमृतानन्दमयी शमदमदायिनी मनलयकारिणी अमृतानन्दमयी सततं मम हृदि वसता देवी अमृतानन्दमयी पतितोद्धार निरन्तर हृदये अमृतानन्दमयी परमहंस पदनिलये देवी अमृतानन्दमयी माता अमृतानन्दमयी हे जननी जनि मरण निवारिणि अमृतानन्दमयी हे श्रित जन परिपालिनि जयताम् अमृतानन्दमयी माता अमृतानन्दमयी सुरजन पूजित जय जगदम्बा अमृतानन्दमयी सहज समाधि सुधन्ये देवी अमृतानन्दमयी माता अमृतानन्दमयी माता अमृतानन्दमयी माता अमृतानन्दमयी अमृतानन्दमयी मंगलहारिणी माता भवानी अमृतानन्दमयी माता अमृतानन्दमयी माता अमृतानन्दमयी।
जय बोलो सद्गुरु माता अमृतानंदमयी देवी की। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। ओम लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम।